Hello, everyone. Okay, so I'm going to be starting something new. So I finished the Learn CPP course. Is it, what do you call it? Course? Well, the Learn CPP website. I read all the chapters, and I'm going to be starting something new. I want to learn Linux, and I want to get good at it. So I found this website called Linux Journey, and that's what I will be using here. Wait. Uh, Hold on. Also, I'm going to be using a virtual machine, so my stream might be slower. Okay, let me just change the full screen. I'm not completely new to Linux, but I did forget a lot of things. So I'm going to be learning from the ground up. Okay. So, hold on. Okay. So let me just open this. I installed this Debian. I just found a random Linux distro and I installed it. I don't know a lot. As I said, I don't know a lot about Linux, but I want to though. So that's why I'll be learning this. So, anyways, the website I'm going to be using is Linux Journey. Also, my stream is going to be really slow. If this thing opens. Also, I've seen a lot of people are switching to Linux. Uh, yeah, Linux Journey. I think I bookmarked it. So, learn the ways of Linux foo for free. So, Grasshopper. I don't get what they mean by foo. Grasshopper. Grasshopper seems like the beginner stage. And then they have Journeyman. Okay, let's start with the basics. Should I switch off this thing? Maybe my computer will be faster. Hold on. Okay, let me just change the full screen now. Okay, let's start from here. Starting from the history. Can you guys read it properly? Should I like zoom in just a little bit? Okay. Hey, okay, so you decided to dive into this world known as Linux. It's gonna be beautiful and enjoyable. It's gonna be a beautiful and enjoyable road ahead. My name is Penguin Pete, and I'm here to guide you through this journey. Let's get started with a little bit of backstory about Linux. To learn about how Linux came to be, let's go back to the beginning of 1969, where Ken Thompson and Dennis Ritchie of Bell Laboratories developed the Unix operating system. It was later rewritten in C to make it more portable, eventually became a widely used operating system. A decade or so later, Richard Stallman started working on a GNU. GNU is not a GNU is not Unix project. The GNU kernel called Herd, which unfortunately never came to completion. The GNU General Public License, a free software license, was also created as a result of this. The kernel is the most important piece in the operating system. It allows the hardware to talk to the software. It also does a whole lot of other things, but we will dig into that in a different course. For now, just know that the kernel controls pretty much everything that happens on your system. During this time, other efforts such as BSD, Minix were developed to be Unix-like systems. However, one thing that all these Unix-like systems had in common was a lack of unified kernel. Then in 1991, a young fellow named Linus Torvalds started developing what we now know today as the Linux kernel. So who developed it? Just I never actually pronounced his name, but but I did read a lot about him. Why isn't the in Mozilla? How do you do zoom in? Yeah, think okay. In the previous lesson, we learned about the Linux kernel, which powers millions of devices a day. One thing before we move forward, the term Linux is actually quite a misnomer, since it actually refers to the Linux kernel. However, many distributions use the Linux kernel, so therefore are commonly known as Linux operating systems. A Linux system is divided into three main parts. Hardware, this includes all the hardware that your system runs on, as well as memory, CPU, disk, etc. Linux kernel, as we discussed above, the kernel is the core of the operating system. It manages the hardware and tells it how to interact with the system. User space, this is where the user like yourself will be directly interacting with the system. So the first step we will need to take is to install Linux on your machine. You have many options to choose from, and this course will help inform you and get you started on choosing a Linux distribution. There are many distributions to choose from. We'll just go over the most popular ones. I just randomly picked Debian, so it might be a wrong choice. So how do I? Debian is an operating system composed entirely of free and open source software. It's widely known and has been in development for over 20 years. There are three branches you can use: stable, testing, and unstable. Stable is an overall good branch to be on. Testing and testing are rolling releases. This means that any incremental changes in these branches will eventually become stable. Okay. Debian also uses Debian package management tools. Every Linux distribution installs and manages packages differently, and they use different package management tools. We'll get more into this in a later course. Debian may not get the latest update, but it's extremely stable. If you want a good core operating system, this is a good one. This is the one for you. Uh, what kind of release does testing and unstable have? What do they mean? What kind of release? Are rolling releases. I'm just copy pasting answers. Do they mean this? Red Hat expert Red Hat expertise or anyways. Red Hat Expertise Linux, commonly referred to as RHEL, is developed by Red Hat. RHEL has strict rules to restrict free redistribution, although it still provides source code for free. RHEL uses a different package manager from Debian, package manager, which we will eventually learn about as well. RHEL based operating systems will differ slightly from the Debian based operating systems, most noticeably in package management. If you decide to go with, is there a better way to pronounce this? RHEL, it's probably best if you know you will be working with it. As described by the name, it's most commonly used in enterprise. So if you need a solid server OS, this would be a good one. So this would be RPM. Okay. Fedora. Where is Ubuntu? Oh, we are on Ubuntu right now. One of the most popular Linux distribution for personal machines is Ubuntu. Ubuntu also releases its own desktop environment manager, Unity by default. Ubuntu is a Debian-based operating system developed by Canonical, so it uses core Debian package management system. Ubuntu is a great choice for a beginner who wants to get into Linux. It also offers ease of use and a great user interface experience that has led to its wide adoption. It's widely used and supported, and is most like other operating systems like OS X and Windows in terms of usability. Great for any platform, desktop, laptop, and server. So this would be Debian. Backed by Red Hat, the Fedora project is community-driven, containing open source and free software. Red Hat Expertise Linux branches of Fedora. So think of Fedora as an upstream of RHEL operating system. Eventually, RHEL will get updates from Fedora, although after thorough testing and quality assurance. So package management, the Red Hat one. If you want to use Red Hat based operating system, this is a user-friendly version. Is this supposed to be Fedora? I didn't actually check. Fedora. Linux Mint is based off Ubuntu. It uses Ubuntu software repositories, so the same packages are available on both distributions. If you prefer a lighter distro than Ubuntu, you may be interested in Linux Mint. It also uses Debian Package Manager. This is from Ubuntu. How do you pronounce this? Gentoo offers ridiculous flexibility with the operating system at a price. It's made for advanced users who don't mind getting their hands dirty with the system. Gentoo uses its own package manager, Portage. The Portage package management is very modular and easy to maintain, which plays a big part in the operating system as a whole being very flexible. This is Portage. Arch is a lightweight and flexible Linux distribution driven 100% by the community. Similar to Debian, Arch uses a rolling release model, so incremental updates eventually become the stable release. You really need to get your hands dirty to understand the system and its functions, but in turn, you get complete and total control of your system. It uses its own package manager, Pacman, to install, update, and manage packages. This would be Pacman. Open source Linux is created by the Open Source Project, a community that promotes the use of Linux everywhere, working together in an open, transparent, and friendly manner as part of the worldwide free and open source software community. OpenSUSE is the second oldest still running distribution. Uh, is the second oldest still running Linux distributions and shares the base system with SUSE's award-winning SUSE Linux expertise product. Uses RPM package manager. OpenSUSE is a great choice for a new Linux user. It offers an easy to use graphical installer. What is the name of OpenSUSE's administration and installation tool? And a DD based Tinker to work with. Is it this? Is it yes? Okay, that was a little bit of history. Now let's get to the main part. The world is your oyster, or really, the shell is your oyster. What is the shell? The shell is basically a program that takes your commands from the keyboard and sends them to the operating system to perform. If you have ever used a gear, you have probably seen programs such as Terminal or Console. These are just programs that launch a shell for you. Throughout this entire course, we will be learning about the vendors of the shell. In this course, we will use the shell program bash, Bourne Again shell. Almost all Linux distributions will default to the bash shell. There are other shells available such as KSH. We won't get into any of those. Let's jump right in. Depending on the distribution, your shell prompt might change, but for the most part, it should adhere to the following format. So username, hostname, current directory. Notice the dollar sign at the end of the prompt. Different shells will have different prompts. In your case, the dollar sign is for a normal user using bash or bash, bourne, or corn shell. You don't add the prompt symbol when you type the command. You know you just know that it's there. Let's start with the symbol command echo. The echo command just prints out the text argument to the display. Okay, wait, hold on. So let me just. No, it's not this. Activities, files. I downloaded VS Code, but I'm hoping that later down the line I would switch to Vim so I can program in the terminal alone. But I will just use VS Code for now. Also, I've noticed like the desktop doesn't show anything. How do I minimize? Yeah, the desktop at the back doesn't show anything. I open file, right? Activities, files. Let's do desktop. Yeah, this is my workspace, default C. Let's just make a folder. Default terminal testing. Open in terminal. So we have user, Debian, and this. So I have to. I need this on top as well. Okay, I think this format is better. And I'll just increase it a little bit. 100, 120, 120. Okay, I guess that's a little bit better. Uh, So the first thing they said was echo hello world. Echo, I'll do this. And then what it, okay. Try some other Linux command and see what they output. Who am I? VBox user. And then date. Right. Uh, I don't know what they're asking, but I think the answer is hello world. Is the exercises like that? Everything in Linux is a file. As you journey deeper into Linux, you will understand this, for but for now, just keep in mind. Just keep that in mind. Every file is organized in a hierarchical directory tree. The first directory in the file system is aptly named the root directory. The root directory has many folders and files which you can store more folders and files. Here's an example of what the directory tree looks like. So bin, etc. Okay. The location of these files and directories are referred to as paths. If you had a folder named home with a folder inside of it named Pete and another folder called movies, the path would look something like this. Navigation of the file system, much like real life, is helpful if you know where you are and where you're going to. See where you are, you can use the pwd command, which means print working directory. Pwd. It's covering the question. How do I How do I find what directory you are currently in? pwp. So now change directory. Now that you know where you are, let's see if we can move around the file system a bit. Remember, we will need to navigate our way using paths. There are two different ways to specify a path with absolute and relative paths. So absolute is from the root directory. The root directory is commonly shown as a slash. Every time your path starts with slash, it means you're starting from the root directory. So this here is starting from root directory. Relative path, this is the path where you are currently, this is the path from where you are currently in file system. If I was in home Pete documents and wanted to go to a directory inside documents called taxes, I don't have to specify the whole path from root. I can just go to taxes slash instead. Now that you know how paths work, we just need something to help us change to the directory we want to. Luckily, we have cd or change directory to do that. Okay, so let's say I have a new folder, test1, and then another new folder, test2. And then in the terminal, cd test1 and cd, right. So now I've changed my directory location to home Pete pictures. Now from this directory, I have a folder inside called Hawaii. I can navigate to that folder with cd Hawaii. Notice how I just use the name of the folder. It's because I was already in home Pete pictures. So current directory is dot, two dots is parent directory, and then this over here is home directory, and then what's this? Dash is the previous directory. What is this? If you're in home Pete pictures and wanted to go to home Pete, what's a good shortcut to use? cd dot dot. Continue. ls list directories. Now that we know how to move around the system, how do we figure out what's available to us? Right now, it's like we are moving around in the dark. Okay, so list directories is to list everything. Also, not all files in a directory will be visible. So ls, so test1, test2. File names that starts with dot are hidden. You can view them, however, with ls command and pass the a flag to it. A is for all. So ls only lists the directories, right? Will list directories and files in the current directory by default. So if I have not folder, how do I create a text? And then text editor and save it in home. Okay, I am in home. Wait. There were desktop here. This is probably a better way of doing this. New document.txt. Let's close this and let's open the terminal. ls ls. Okay. So what files are hidden? That start with dot are hidden. You can also, there is also one more useful ls flag dot l for long. This shows a detailed list of files in a long format. ls long. Why does it say total 12? This will show you detailed information starting from left, file permissions, number of links, owner names, owner group, file size, timestamp of last modification, and file directory name. Commands have things called flags to add more functionality. See how we added A and L, where you can add them both together with LA. The order of flags determine which order it goes in first. Most of the time it doesn't really matter, so you can also do ls al and it would still work. Run ls with different flags and see the output you receive. Or recursively list directory contents, reverse order while sorting, sort by time modification newest first. So ls sort by time, ls long sort by time, long sort by time, and reverse it. Let's see what capital R does. Capital R. So new document. What is this total 12 over here? There are only 3, right? Test 1, test 2. So let's say I copy this, paste this, test 1 note. Yeah, let's just do that. Test to node. Now let's do ls long, uh, r long. Total 8, total 8. Are they talking about the sizes? 4. And then sort by time. Reverse it. So the oldest one goes on top. Whoops. Hold on. When going to the browser, I accidentally opened the Windows taskbar. Anyways, I'll just keep this fully open. The order of the flag determines which order it goes in. What command would you use to see hidden files? So ls all. Let's learn how to make some files. A very simple way is to use the touch command. Touch allows you to create empty files. Touch is also used to change timestamps on existing files and directory. Give it a try, do lsl on a file and note the timestamps and touch that file and it will update the timestamp. There are many other ways to create files that involve other things like redirection and text editors, but we will go to that in the text manipulation course. So touch my super duper file. So we are here, touch new file dot txt. Now how do you create a file called my file? So touch my file, my file. In the previous lesson, we learned about touch. Let's go back to that for a bit. Did you notice that the file name didn't conform to the standard naming like you have probably seen with other operating systems like Windows? Normally, you would expect a file to Normally you would expect a file called banana.jpg and expect a JPEG picture file. In Linux, file names aren't required to represent the contents of the file. You can create a file called funny.gif that isn't actually a GIF. To find out uh, what kind of file a file is, you can use the file command. It will show you a description of the file's content. So, okay, we have this, and then file txt empty, and then file new. It's a text file. And now I can do this, right? Directory. What command you can use to find the file type of a file? File. We are almost done navigating files, but first let's learn how to read a file. A simple command is to use the cat command, short for concatenate. It not only displays files contents, but it can combine multiple files and show you the output of them. It's not great for viewing large files, and it's only meant for short content. There are many other tools that we use for larger files. We will discuss that in the next section. So let's just add something to, wait, let's just add something here. Testing, testing, check, cat, new document, and new file. Yeah. What's a good way to see the contents of the file? Concatenate. If you are viewing text file larger than a simple output, less is more. There's a there's actually a command called more that does something similar, so this is ironic. The text is displayed in a page manner, so you can navigate through a text file page by page. Go ahead and look at the contents of the file with less. Once you're in the less command, you can actually use other keyboard commands to navigate in the file. This, I will do this. And I will do this. Now, less. Wait, hold on. Less. Let me just, if I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 0, then that's the end of the file. But how do I actually navigate? You navigate through less. To quit out of less and go back to your shell, we use Q. Page the up, down, the up, down arrow keys. G moves to the beginning, capital G moves to the end. Why G? Search, you can search a specific text inside the text document. H, if you need a little help on how to use less while you're in less, use help. Okay, let's see. Less. So H. Okay, Q exits. I'm going down. I'm going up. Let's do G. Capital G. How do you quit out of a less command? You just use Q. In your shell, there is a history of commands that you previously entered. You can actually look through these commands. This is quite useful when you want to find and run a command you used previously without actually typing it again. Want to run the same command you did before? Just hit the up key. Want to run the previous command without typing it again? Use double exclamation. Hold on. So history. So this is my history. Double exclamation. Okay, I does the history. Now another history shortcut is Control R. This is the reverse search command. If you hit Control R and you start typing parts of the command you want, it it will show you matches and you can just navigate through them by hitting Control R key again. Control R. So if I do less, okay, concatenate, and then file, No. Control R, file. But I did file many times, right? So why is it doing this? Control R, this is a reverse search command. If you hit Control R, you start typing parts of your command you want to show. It will show you matches and you can just navigate through them by hitting Control R again. So Control R, file, Control R, okay. How do I go back? Control R again. Wait, what? Let me see. Once you found the command, just hit the enter key. How do I go back? Our terminal is getting a little cluttered now. Let's do a little cleanup. Use the clear command to clear up the display. So escape, clear, and Control R, file, R. But how do I go back? Go to the previous search. Okay. While we're talking about useful things, one of the most useful features in any command line environment is the tab completion. If you start typing the beginning of a command, file, directory, etc., and hit the tab key, it will auto complete. Yeah, okay. Why does it do this? What is the command to clear up the terminal? Edo clear. And then copy. Let's start making copies of these files. Much like copy and pasting files in other operating systems, the shell gives us an even simpler way of doing that. My cool file is the file you want to copy, and home p documents school docs is where you are copying the file to. You can copy multiple files and directories as well as use a wildcard. A wildcard is a character that can be substituted for a pattern-based selection, giving you more flexibility with searches. You can use wildcards in every command for more flexibility. So star, the wildcard for wildcards, it's used to represent every single characters or any string. Question mark used to represent one string. Oh, so any substring as well. The square brackets used to represent any character within the bracket. So all JPEG goes to home Pete pictures. Let's see. So copy all.txt to any folder testing 3. So cat, wait, how do I create a new directory? New folder test 3. CP testing 3. No, it's test 3. Now let's open this. Nice. Let's go back to activities. A useful command is to use R flag. This will recursively copy the files and directories within a directory. Try to do CP on a directory that contains a couple of files to your documents directory. Didn't work, did it? Well, that's because you will need to copy over the files and directories inside as well with R command. So pumpkins. One thing to note, if you copy a file over to a directory that has the same file name, the file will be overwritten with whatever you're copying over. This is a no-brainer if you have a file that you don't want to get accidentally overwritten. You can use the -I flag to prompt you before overwriting a file. So my cool file, home Pete pictures. Uh, Wait, let me think. So let's say I have delete later. So I will do open in terminal, copy default terminal testing to delete are not specified, omitting directory default terminal testing. What? Not this. I will do current directory in here. So /r. Now let's see. Okay. Just move this to trash. You can use the I flag to prompt you before overwriting a file. What flag do you need to specify to copy over a directory? R. Wait, contains a couple of files. That's because you need to copy. So R flags are must, right? When we are using directories. Used for moving files and also renaming them. Quite similar to cp command in terms of flags and functionality. You can rename files like this. So move old file, new file. Does it delete the old file? Hold on, let me see. ls. So .txt move new file. No. Test test blah.txt. No such file or directory. Whoops. I accidentally clicked my taskbar in Windows. Now it's opening it. Hold on, so how can I do this? So I have test 1, test 2, test 3. So the directory is the issue. Oh, and it deletes the old one and it writes it over here. And then if I concatenate no, cd test and then concatenate. And now I get this. You can rename directories as well. You can move more than one file. You can rename directories. If you move a file or directory, it will overwrite anything in the same directory. We can use I. Let's say you did want to move a file to overwrite the previous one. You can also make a backup of that file and it will just rename the old version with a whatever the style. So move directory 1 and directory 2. Hola, what is this backup? ls. So move blah.txt. Why isn't when I'm pressing tab, why doesn't it autofill? Test.txt and then backup. Let's see. So test and where's the backup? It will just rename the old version with this. So now if I do ls d cd ls, so where is this backup file? Now to make a backup of the file, it will just rename the old version. Move cat dog. You're gonna need some directories. You're gonna need some directories to store all these files we have been working on. The make directory command is useful for that. It will create a directory if it doesn't already exist. You can even make multiple directories at the same time. You can also create subdirectories at the same time with parent flag. So without p, what happens with this? So if I do make directory test4 test5 cannot create directory. So create the parent as well. Make dir. Now I think we have too many files. Let's remove some of the file names. To remove files, we can use the remove command. The remove command is used to delete files and directories. Take caution when using remove. There's no magical trash that you can fish out remove files. Once they're gone, they're gone. What? Once they're gone for good. Fortunately, there are some safety measures you can put in place for the average Joe. Can't just remove a bunch of important files. Write protected files will prompt you for confirmation before deleting them. If a directory is write protected, it will also not be easily removed. Now, if you don't care about any of that, you can absolutely remove a bunch of files. So remove, first option tells RM to remove all files, whether they are write protected or not, without prompting the user. I flag, like many other command, will give you a prompt on whether you actually want to remove the files or directories. You can't just remove a directory by default. You will need to add R flag to remove all the files and any subdirectories it may have. You can remove a directory with the remove directory command. So this we do remove my file. With all of these files we can have, with all these files we have on the system, it can get a little hectic trying to find a specific one. Well, there's a command we can use for that. Find. So find at home name puppies. While you will have to specify the directory you will be searching it. What you're searching for, in this case we are trying to find a file by the name of puppies.jpg. You can specify what type of file you're trying to find. So find home type D, name my folder. You can also see that I set the type of the file I'm trying to find as D for directory, and I'm still searching by the name of my folder. One cool thing to note is that find doesn't stop at the directory you're searching for. It will look inside any subdirectories that directory may have. Search by name and then name. Wait, if I do ls long, touch new document. What does touch do again? It changes, okay, it changes the timestamp, right? It just edits it, does nothing, and then saves. New document, okay. Where's the thing where you can see the type of the file? File, yeah, file. Is there a way to see the type of the file for every file in the directory? So A, C, and then let's do test.txt. Test4 directory. Wait, we did cp find. Yeah, we just did that. Concatenate again. We're almost done navigating files, but first let's learn how to read a file. A simple command is to use the concatenate file. Not only displays the content but compiles multiple files. No, I already did this. Linux has some great built-in tools. Where does it have? Find and then okay. Linux has some great built-in tools to help you how to use a command or check what flags are available for a command. One tool, help, is a built-in bash command that provides help for other bash commands. This will give you a description and the option you can use when you want to run echo. For other executable programs, it's convention to have an option called help or something similar. Not all developers who ship out executables will conform to this standard, but it's probably your best shot to find some help on the program. So dash help. What? Oh, help at the start. I wish some of these programs had a manual so we can see more information about them. Well, luckily they do. Aptly named manual pages you can see manuals for a command with the man command. So let's clear it. Manual ls list directory contents. Manual touch change file timestamp. Good. Okay. Manual pages are manuals that are by default built into most Linux operating systems. They provide documentation about commands and other aspects of the system. Try it out on a few commands to get more information about them. So man, what else? We have learned quite a bit of commands so far. If you ever feel doubtful about what a command does, you can use what is command. The what is command provides a brief description of a command line programs. Get source from the manual page of each command. If you run what is cat, you will see there is a small blurb with a short description. What's the difference between what is and so what is touch man touch. So does the what is command print out this part? So what is ls man ls quit. Can I do what is man what is display one line value for each page description. What is what is. Sometimes typing commands can be really repetitive, or if you need to type a long command many times, it's best to have an alias you can use for that. To create an alias for a command, you simply specify an alias name and set it to the command. So alias foobar. Well, foobar, it's longer to type foobar than lsla. Now, instead of typing lsla, you can type foobar and it will execute that command. Pretty neat stuff. Keep in mind that this command won't save your alias after reboot, so you will need to add a permanent alias in the root directory or similar files if you want to have it processed after reboot. You can remove aliases with the unalias command. Alias. Well, you did a great job. We have only scratched the surface. Now that you have learned to crawl, it's the next. In the next set of courses, I'm going to teach you how to walk. For now, you can pat yourself on the back. To exit from the shell, you can use the exit or log out. If you're working on a terminal queue, you can just close the terminal and see on the next course. So this would be exit. So let's try here. Exit. Log out. I think if there was a process that's like continuously running, then it would exit out. So we have text stuff, text manipulation, user management permission, processes, and packages. There's a lot to go through. Journeyman. Okay, so this is what I will be streaming about. Right. This is the part I'm most concerned about. I want to really learn networking. Just hope I get good at it. What's then? Okay, networking is the last part. Okay, I will end the stream here then. And yeah, I would see you guys next time. Bye.